Welcome, everyone. I think we've got a lot joining in now. Looks like we've got a good group going. So we're just a little bit after the hour here. So we'll get started in just 1 minute. Matt, does it look like we've got who you're anticipating? I know you're in the background now, but...
Yeah. I think, more people will probably come in shortly, but I think we could start anytime, really.
Okay, very good. So we are recording this session. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Margaret Korosec. I'm the Dean of Online and Digital Education at the University of Leeds, and I'm also a fellow of the Center for Online and Distance Education, also known as CODE, at the University of London. This webinar series on the digital student experience is hosted by CODE, and I'm delighted to be here with you today. As we hear directly from online students who are current online students at the University of Leeds. And just a quick background as well, the CODE Center offers a webinar series, and this is one of many parts of the series that bring insights into online and distance education. So today we have 6 current online students from the University of Leeds. Delighted that they could join us. Thank you so much, because we know that you have busy schedules. And this session in particular is really exploring the digital student experience and online student experience in higher education. We talk about student engagement and that being a metric for quality and for, your sense of belonging to the university. So I really want to hear from you all first, just to explore what is your live experience, your lived experience in this space. So what we're going to do today is I first am going to ask our panel members to introduce themselves, say a little bit where they're from, what their online degree is, why they selected that, and maybe where they work. Just so that we get a sense of who you are. I think this is the biggest part. I also invite those who are in the audience listening in to add your questions for the panel members to the chat. And we've got support here with Stephen from the Center for Online and Distance Education. Hi, Stephen. So he will be helping navigate the chat so that you can take to the mic if you'd like to ask your question, or he will ask your question if you've posted in the chat. So with that, really, I just want to get started because we want to hear from you all. So I'm just going to call on our panel members. Alex, could you please start us off and introduce yourself? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Margaret, and hello everyone in the audience. So my name is Alex Sampedro. I am 43 years old. I'm born in Madrid, Spain, and now I live in Gothenburg, Sweden, since 12 years ago with my wife and my 7-year-old daughter. So my current role is product manager. So I build a strategy and roadmap for digital engineering tools in the company. That is a Swedish multinational manufacturer called SKF. And I chose to pursue an online Master of Science degree in engineering management because as I progressed in my engineering career from specialist to then project manager, I felt it was the right time to increase my leadership skills and knowledge in business areas like finance, corporate strategy, and team performance that I didn't touch upon before. And to do that while attending my family and work commitments. So in general, to complement my professional profile with management skills and a certification on top of my mostly technical career. Yeah.
Amazing, Alex. Thank you. That was perfect. Give us a really good insight. Much appreciated. Thank you, Alex. Can I move on to Chantal, please? Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, certainly. My name is Chantal Jauvin. I come from Canada. My career has been in law. I started my career in international trade. I had the pleasure of working on the WTO and also some GATT matters, probably aging myself a little now. And I went on to do an MBA and work as in-house counsel in a Fortune 500 financial services area. I am studying the Masters of Sustainability and Business Leadership at Leeds. And it's a pivot for me. I have had the pleasure of living all over the world in my career, ranging from Moscow to Japan to Mexico to Austria. And through the course of my career, I have taken up mentoring young professionals And as I have now retired from that career, I think about the world that we are leaving to them. And I care very much about their education. And I'm realizing that I have to care equally about the planet. And so I am hoping to take my skills from trade law, leadership, and my passion for young people and pivot that into playing a role in taking care of our planet.
A remarkable story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Thank you. Our next panel member is Claire. Claire, can I ask you to introduce yourself? Welcome.
Thank you. I feel like I'm not nearly as worldly as the previous two people on the panel, and I don't feel like I've got such an in-depth reasoning behind my degree choice. So I'm Claire Ashdown. I am based in Leicester in the UK, and I am studying for the MSc in Disability Studies, Rights and Inclusion. I'm just 3 months in now, so part-time degree, 2 years long, just 3 months in, coming up to my second assessment in less than 2 weeks' time. So studying online was somewhat incidental, I think. I don't think I set out to study online as such. I just wanted to, ever since I graduated from my undergraduate degree, which is in art history, nothing to do with disability studies whatsoever, I just wanted to do the course that felt right. And in my full-time job at the University of Leicester, so different university, as a project manager for student and education, equality, diversity and inclusion, I've gotten into different aspects of inclusivity, more and more into race inclusion more than anything, but my interests are quite significantly tainted towards disability. Up popped this course online, just advertised, and I thought, well, I want to learn all of this. And now here I am. It just feels like I've just accidentally wandered down this path. Enjoying it so far, I've got to say, I'm really enjoying it so far. But yeah, I can't say that my career's being crafted in the way that Alex and Chantal's developed their careers. Feels more like an accident, but it's having a good time so far.
That's wonderful to hear, Chantal. It's Claire. Sorry, Claire. And what I wanted to say is everyone has their unique story. So and that is the beauty of this. Actually, it's just we're already seeing the tapestry of the different reasons how people come to online. So this is very much an individual path. So I love your story just as much as everyone's, and really appreciate you sharing that with us. Thank you. So moving on to James, if you can please take the floor and introduce yourself.
Of course, thanks very much, Margaret. Good morning or good afternoon to everyone here. It's nice to meet you. I'm James, I'm 24. I'm calling today from Dubai. I finished my undergraduate degree in 2021 at Cambridge and then moved over here to do a career in international development consultancy. I really enjoyed the data analytic components of it and wanted to take that further and just explore maybe what else I might be interested in doing or trying to incorporate into my career, as I'm very early on in my career at the moment. And so I looked at what was going to be compatible with my full-time job in a different country, and the Leeds MSc in Artificial Intelligence really appealed to me for that reason. So I started that in June last year, and I've been really enjoying it so far.
Amazing, wonderful. I love the diversity that we're just already surfacing. Fantastic, and a great backstory. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to Sue, and Sue differs slightly as she is a graduate of one of our online degrees, so that she's reached the next stage. But Sue, please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Right. Hello, I'm Sue Field. As Margaret said, yes, I am a graduate from the MSc in Engineering Management at Leeds. I started out my life as a graduate chemical engineer, worked for Philips Electronics and Rolls-Royce, and then migrated into IT consultancy in both the private and public sector. I'd always had a yearning, though, to return to my engineering roots. And after really quite a significant career break to raise a family, I decided it was the opportunity to try and get back into engineering, and was looking for sort of opportunities of study, and noticed the MSc at Leeds, which I felt was really good because it was offering a part-time and online sort of aspect to the studying. This really sort of fit in with work commitments and both social commitments. And it worked out incredibly well because the bulk of my studying was carried out during the COVID pandemic as well. So it was sort of great for me. It gave me something sort of interesting to do as well as dealing. I was spending a lot of time working in the NHS at the time. So it was a good sort of counter to that work. So that's really sort of how I came into that studying.
Thank you, Sue. And is it true that you're in the UK still?
Right, I am. I'm actually very, very close to Leeds University.
Are you?
Yes.
Excellent. I love it. Yeah, thank you so much, Sue.
Thank
And
you.
then, thank you. And finally, Bill, please, we'd love to hear from you and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Bill Thomas, and I'm also a Canadian like Chantal. I've had a business career spanning about 30 years. I have been president of a division of Bristol-Myers Squibb, and I retired as president of Western Union Corporation, and have lived in many places around the world. I'm still involved in business. I serve on boards, but I've taken a break from full-time corporate life to do some other things, such as a lot of cycling and adventurous travel. I have engaged in this course because I want to make a difference, and I've seen the effects of climate change firsthand. In Canada, where it was burning last summer, in Thailand, where there were heat domes and rising sea levels. And, you know, I've had the opportunity to lead and influence people, and I'm taking the Masters of Business and Sustainability so that I can hope to do the same thing in that field.
Remarkable. Thank you so much. And are you still in Canada now?
Actually, I'm in Cambridge right now in UK.
You're in Cambridge. Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah,
you.
Much appreciated. As we can see, we have very diverse representation here across several degree programs. We've got the engineering management degree, sustainable business leadership, disability studies, rights and inclusion, and artificial intelligence. So fascinating mix and also reasoning behind how you've come. I think I'm most interested in, and please to the audience, please put your questions into the chat. As we mentioned before, there's a question about engagement in the online space and that sense of connection with the academic community as well as with your peers. Would any of you like to kind of address, your experience in that space as far as your interaction with your academic tutors or the program lead? I think there's something, strong there that follows through when you have your program leadership, but I would love to hear from you, anyone who wishes to mention their experience there. It looks like Alex, you might have come off mute.
Yes, well, I can start.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. So I would like to start by saying that not all online education is the same. I think that I could really notice the difference between different platforms. So I also had a sort of accidental introduction or decision to study the MSc in engineering management because, in my company, they were promoting that we go to these learning platforms like Coursera. They actually paid a license for us. And then I saw one of the modules was managing major engineering projects. And then it said in the description, this is part of an MSc in the University of Leeds. I said, oh, wow. And then that got me started. No, but so my point is that I did some of the courses in Coursera or modules in Coursera. And, when I entered the one at the University of Leeds, I could really notice the difference in the quality, in the depth, and even the engagement of the teacher. Maybe some sort of comments, putting a little bit of own opinion or a very delicate humor or something. You can notice that it's different to other online courses and other online platforms. And me as an online student, I am able to feel that.
Thank you, Alex. And I think what you're surfacing is, there are different types of online courses, and some of what you might have experienced on Coursera may be self-paced. There may not be necessarily direct engagement with academic community. And oftentimes those are not for credit. So there's a different design model behind it. But when you're moving into, credit-bearing program, there is that intentional design for that engagement. So I think,
Right.
yeah, that's an interesting distinction, though, of what you've surfaced there in that difference, because they are different models. They're very different models. But that's also what you experience is probably a taster course. So in other words, it's a bit of a taster. Here's a bit of what it might be like to study and continue on to the online degree. So that's an interesting perspective. Thank you for that. Anyone else wish to share their experience, a bit of that? Yeah, go ahead, Bill. Thank you.
Well, I've obviously been a student and I've taught at the university level. And I think the biggest challenge that I'm having right now is community, where you're not in person.
Yeah.
And in attempts to build that community through interaction in joint projects would be really helpful. So far at the Leeds program, that's not happening. We're assessed individual, at least in the first two modules, assessed individually.
Yeah.
And there is some sharing online, but I feel that everyone is so busy with jobs, etc., that the online sharing has come down to a minimum. I did just complete a course at Terra in California on the same topic, and we would have group assignments where 3 or 4 students would get together to work on an assignment as part of their overall grade, and then present that. And that helped with the engagement, helped kind of the one-on-one meetings that we would have, even though it wasn't in person. I think that's the biggest thing that I'm actually missing, is that sense of kind of belonging to the group.
Yes, thank you. And I think that was one of the questions Caroline has raised in the chat, is about that ongoing collaboration with the other students in the cohort. So, is there that sense of, or anyone else wish to chime in regard to knowing who those other students are, or are you kind of head down, you're just doing what you need to do to progress through the course without necessarily having that sense of community, as you say, Bill? I'd love that perspective. Go ahead, James. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. This might be a slightly unintended consequence that I've come across in a few of the modules so far, is that there seems to be a natural proclivity of people to work together when there's something particularly difficult, which is constituent of the course. So this isn't at the impetus of anyone coordinating it from the university side, but there's certainly been 1 or 2 modules where there's been some element, typically it's more of the technical components, where it's been really quite difficult to work out how to do it. Everyone's found themselves in the same boat of, I'm stuck here or I'm stuck there. Can you help me on the next stage? I suppose maybe when it's really much more simple to get it all done oneself, and so you can just rely on yourself and online resources to be able to get it all done, then there's less of a felt need to talk through it with other people in the same situation. But I would say that when there has been particular challenges which are more parochial to the specification of whatever the coursework or the assignment is, then people have naturally come together and say, I'm really stuck here. Has anyone found a way to do this? And then, I found a way to do this. Can you help me here? So that might be one way of overcoming what Bill's mentioned there about a sense of insular learning.
Yeah, I love that example, actually, that out of necessity, almost coming together as a group, as a cohort, problem solving together, trying to figure it out together. And I think that's great, because that is part of the challenge, is figuring out and being resourceful as to how you find the solution, how you work out the problem. So I think that's a great example, actually. Yeah. Anyone else want to share your experience before we kind of move on maybe slightly? There's some great questions coming in the chat as well, but yes, Claire, please. Thank you.
Quite similar to James, actually. Really early on, I remember there was an introductory session. Hello, welcome to the course. Here's everyone that's going to be teaching you. Here's who's on your course. Meet each other. That was quite nice. And as part of that, they said you might want to set up a WhatsApp group. Up to you. We can't do anything about it, obviously, separate from us, but you can use that as a way of communicating with each other. And we all joined it, as far as I'm aware. And it has been so helpful, not just in those moments of I don't understand this, although absolutely, like there's been several moments where we think I don't get this. I think for some people that might have been a moment where they think I can't do this course, this isn't for me, because it's just not connecting in my head. And having that group environment to talk about it has really helped with confidence and understanding. And the way that we engage with the weekly live seminar on Monday afternoons, we can prepare for that in a way that we can ask each other those basic questions, I suppose, and then confirm our understanding in the seminars, and we're just getting a little bit more from it. I don't think I set out personally, I don't think I set out thinking I need this community from my course. I knew it was online. I've been homeschooled before, so I am quite comfortable with like learning independently. Get that, that's fine. But the benefit of having that WhatsApp group and just that shared pain, but also the shared enjoyment, because we just dump stuff in that WhatsApp group that wouldn't be of any interest to anybody else who's not on the course, but we can share it collectively, and it's nice to have that opportunity as well. So I always struggle with the term belonging in terms of universities. I don't think anybody knows what it means, but community, absolutely. I don't think it's essential, but I really benefit from it. I think it's definitely beneficial.
Thank you for raising that. That's fascinating. And what you've really touched on is certainly the sense of community, but it's that over and beyond just the fact that you're studying together. It's over and beyond that, trying to get through an assignment. It's about, getting to know the others as individuals, some of the other things that are happening there. So that extends into that community. Sue, I think you had your hand raised, and I think Chantal, and I know Sarah as well has your hand raised as well. So welcome.
Yes, I found we had WhatsApp group as well, and I found it sort of invaluable in the first few months when I started studying again, because I hadn't studied for absolutely decades. And it was a huge, huge shock to me. And I thought, I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to get back into it. And it was really sort of support of my peers that said, you can do it. We've all felt the same. We've all gone through this. Once you've got through, maybe the first month, the first couple of months, it will be absolutely fine. And I think if it wasn't for that sort of peer support, I probably would have given up within a few weeks, really. So really grateful for that. Yeah.
That's quite powerful, actually, and of course, student retention is huge in specifically in this degree, and in any degree, obviously, student retention is a key consideration. But yeah, that's fantastic that had such an impact on you, Sue. Amazing. Chantal, I think did you have something to add here? I just wanted to check in. Thank you.
Yes, I'm just starting the course, and so I'm just a few weeks into it, so I perhaps don't have the same insight as everyone. But I found the discussion boards that are used in the course very useful, particularly because we come from such diverse background, diverse experience. And I find the discussion board is like almost a democratic process, because really you get people's input without necessarily knowing how they're situated, which means that you really are exchanging on the content of the course. And I really like that about the discussion boards. I'm hoping that as I progress in the course, they'll be used more. Like Alex, I've taken some other online courses. I did a 6 weeks course with Cambridge University also, and the discussion boards were incredibly active. And I think that's one of my favorite parts of the online learning experience. And I hope it'll be the same in this course.
Sorry, yes, Alex, thank you. Chantal, thank you. Alex.
Yeah, just following up on the discussion boards topic. No, I think it's important to make sure that the technically the platform supports this asynchronous collaboration, because what I experienced through my course, for example, is that in the beginning we had an option to subscribe to certain discussion forums where you might see one post of someone, and then you reply maybe the day after or 2 days after, and maybe it's a question that you make to the first person. So if you subscribe, it's and you get an email, it's a good opportunity to follow up. In this way, you can follow up. But then there was an upgrade or update to the portal, and actually the subscribing function is not there anymore. And that was actually, I noticed that, people were, participating less. And, I have raised this up, but of course, before taking some decisions of upgrading, we really have to make sure that the platform supports, from a technical point of view, this collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly raise a really important point. There's the base for much of your experience in an online degree is going to be that virtual learning environment, that space, the learning management system or what other system the universities in general might offer. But the discussion board is certainly a part of that, and upgrades do happen, and shifts that need to be reset is also part of that. But thank you for raising that. That is really important. And just related to the discussion board, just because we're on that right now, one of the questions we also have in there is, do you feel that those discussion threads are prompted by the lectures, that are quite specific, or is it more by the students? So in other words, is it kind of in response to, or can students start their own threads within that space? And, maintaining that momentum, as you say about that engagement, it can become a rich discussion, but if no one's engaging, it's not. So I'm just curious if you feel that's prompted. Is it all set out for you at the beginning, or is it more organic? And that's just kind of a general question out. Yes, Sue. Thank you.
Well, when I was going through my course, it was actually set out. So we had topics which we had to discuss. I did find it was really useful. I remember, I think one module, I sort of answered. I think I was the first to sort of answer it. And I obviously went a bit sort of like off topic or something. And the lecturer said, I don't want you to feel he sort of emailed me, I don't want you to feel stupid about this, but I think you've probably not picked it up. And he said, it's really interesting from his point of view, because if I had not picked it up, I wouldn't be the only one. So he said, I'm going to actually address this topic again when we do the webinar. So I think it was good in terms of him receiving feedback, in terms of sort of our level of understanding as well as sort of having these sort of active discussions. It was sort of like a really good two-way process.
That's really insightful. And, there are different design approaches in a way, and ways of engaging in there. I mean, whereby, the academic, let's say, may not respond immediately, may let that conversation emerge with the student population, and then come in to surface. So it is about, but surfacing it at the in a live session. Claire, you mentioned, you have your Monday afternoon live session, where you can come together and have that, clarity, if there's something that's still been an issue or people haven't understood, or etc. So that ebb and flow, I think, Alex, you mentioned the synchronous or asynchronous components of this, and that's, a key part of this experience, I think. Sarah, you've had your hand up for some time. Can I bring you in for a moment? Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Margaret. I feel a little bit like an interloper because I don't go to Leeds. I am a part-time distance learning student studying for my MSc in positive psychology and coaching psychology at the University of East London. And the reason I'm here is that Margaret invited me because we know each other from different life. I'm student rep for our cohort, and our course is one of the only places in the world that you can actually do this course. So that's why I'm doing it online, and it's wonderful resource. People from all over the world, you're getting to work with people from different cultures, from different experiences, which is wonderful. And it's one of those places where you can network. However, being online, the networking side of it, you really have to work at. If it's not related to the course, it doesn't seem to be engendered within everything. That's something, maybe it's the nature of our course, that we are trying to do that within ourselves. But actually sussing out, well, you've got experience in that, or you know people who, I know for myself, I'm wanting to set up retreats for people to go on so that they can go away, feel good, and have some sort of really good experience. And it was only by talking to somebody really randomly that she knew somebody who runs a company that organises these things. And if we'd have just stuck with the topics of the course, I may well not have found that out. And we don't get the benefit of being online, having those cafe water cooler moments where we sort of go, oh, you're the person who raised that thing in the session. Whereabouts are you from? What do you do? We don't get those opportunities, which I think is a little bit lacking when we're online. And just going back to Claire's point about the WhatsApp, I set up a WhatsApp group for our cohort. Yes, it's been great, but on the other hand, there have been people that got the wrong end of the stick, and then others have got, then it's raised anxiety within the group about certain elements within the course. So they can be wonderful for getting those networking stuff going, but they can also be a bit of a problem. So it's an interesting one to sort of balance. And we also have study groups where we get together so that we can talk to each other.
Yes, please, Chantal.
To follow up on what Sarah's saying, I found that when we have our weekly webinar and we're split out in groups, we do end up, to Sarah's point, chatting with each other and using the time to get to know each other, which is wonderful. Except that when we're regrouped together, we often find that we haven't had a chance to really get through the course discussion. And so to Sarah's point, perhaps having an opportunity for that interaction so that it doesn't necessarily have to be taken up in the time that we're supposed to be discussing substantive issues would be useful and beneficial.
That's really wonderful. I mean, I love that perspective. And Maya in the chat, who is at the University of Leeds, raises a point in regard to, you know, the value or interest in kind of a virtual social interaction. In other words, something that is intended to be that social, that opportunity to kind of get to know each other in a different way. I mean, you know, would that be of interest, or is that again maybe self-organized, or is it better, you know, where do you sit with that in regard to you know, self-organizing or finding it better if it's organized through the institution? I'm curious. Go ahead, Claire. Thank you.
This is something that the people on my course already arranged, actually. By that I do mean the students, because we were realizing the same experience of getting into the webinars. Right, going into breakout groups now, talk about this thing for 20 minutes and we talk about anything else, not out of any sort of disinterest in the content, but we just got so and I know I'm to blame in a lot of those cases, because I just said, oh, you've got a nice jumper on, oh, are you cold at the minute? Yeah, it's freezing, you know, all of that conversation, then we're gone. And we have one every Friday afternoon. Time zones, though. Time zones are the biggest challenge, because we've got students, most of us are in the UK. One student, I think, is in Brussels, which I believe is 1-2 hours ahead. And then we've got Canadian and American students, I think. They wake up, they say good morning, and we're like, end of the day, thank you, nice to see you. And it's quite hard to find a time that works for everyone, so we're not going to. So we try to find a time that works for as many people as possible. I think there was a poll in the WhatsApp group to say when's best, and if you can't go, it's not an exclusive thing. It's just nice for people that can go. But then we've still got the WhatsApp group where there's lots of conversation as well. And I will say, on to Sarah's point, yeah, I have definitely fallen victim to that negative concern in a WhatsApp group where someone's going, oh my God, what about this? And I've been fine with it until someone's worried, and I'm like, oh no, I'm worried now too. So it does have a risk, but that's going to happen. That would happen in person. Like if everyone was to leave a lecture room and someone says, what did they just say? Do they mean this? Is something due tomorrow? And then, everyone's on fire now because everyone's panicking. It's all natural anyway, because people worry. So it's fine. But I wouldn't expect a social hour to be set by the course. I don't think, by the academic, not in a bad way, not in a they have no right to, but I wouldn't expect that. Service, I suppose it's not their job to do that sort of thing, but to encourage students to do it, you might want to consider this, is what I would expect, really.
I like that. I like that shift, the encouragement of having that, and just yeah, I love that. That's great. Go ahead, Bill.
I think that's a great idea, to have a separate session where you can get to know each other, and make the time zones work. In the 2 courses I've taken at Leeds, there have been 20 to 25 in each course, but nevertheless, there's only maybe 10 or 12 that show up for the lectures. So that's who I get to see. And again, it's because people have got other things to do or time zones. But if a group could get together and just agree on, hey, Friday at this time, it works pretty well for everybody, let's commit to an hour of just getting to know one another.
I love it. Stephen, I'm not necessarily catching up with the chat. So if there's anything that you feel it needs to be called out here, please do chime in.
Will do. And as you were speaking, I was typing into the chat myself. So trying to keep up with it that way as well.
No worries. That's fine. So just any other comments there in regard to, I think that social thing, and actually it was raised as well in regard to, the difference of your campus experience, if you've had a previous campus experience of studying on a campus as compared to here. It's a different, you have different commitments. These are part-time study, but you're doing it alongside so many other things. So that social element seems to be quite powerful. So I think just any other final comments there while we just pull up some of the other, I just want to make sure I'm addressing the questions as well that are coming through.
In the meantime, I would like to say that I also second that idea of having a social meeting, in the way that, social engagement needs to be worked on. I think, these courses are very much focused, of course, in being, suitable for people who are working 100%, but maybe too much. Maybe we should, try to get this social aspect on, and not only for for chatting, but also because when you look at the discussion forums, you can see that people have amazing experiences in other countries and in other sectors. And one of the reasons I also started to study is to get some outside perspective professionally, and from a fundamental point of view, you can get some inspiration of how people work. So I think that it needs to be somewhat encouraged in a way, maybe not too much, because we know people are working, right? But a little bit more towards that direction, yes.
Yeah, it's a good point. And one of the other questions that came through as well is just that motivation, to complete and to finish and to work on your assignments, when you do have other challenges in your work life and otherwise. So is there any kind of perspective there as far as, do you have any concerns with your motivation? Do you have a thought that, you're not going to be able to finish, or you're so clear that this is the right thing and you're going to kind of keep progressing through? I'd be really curious about how you balance that, with your professional objectives, but also, the fact that you are studying and having assignments due and things like this. So anyone want to comment on that?
I mean, for me, it was very interesting, or what motivated me is that I could start with the postgraduate certificate program, check how was it, and then if I was happy with it and found the motivation, then I transferred to the MSc program, and that flexibility, was very, very important for me. I think that if I would have from the beginning to have to commit to 2 years of studying, masters, maybe I wouldn't have done it. But this flexibility of you can try 4 modules, 8 months, and then you can transfer. That was very good.
Appreciate that perspective, and indeed they are. These type of courses are designed, where there are step-off opportunities if you needed to, or progression. So that's a great comment. Anyone else have anything to add there? Not so much. You're all motivated. I love it. But the feedback that we're getting right now is it's so important because these courses are designed. They are really, there is so much that goes behind how, the experience that you see. Yet there's always ways to improve. So I think, that's one of the things we wanted to explore too is, what improvements do you recommend? I mean, we've already touched on several, in fact, as in regard to group work, in regard to discussion boards, in regard to, the social interaction and peer engagement. But is there anything else kind of in that spirit of, what would you want to see in your course or in your subsequent modules as you complete? Bill?
I would like to see more than 1 hour a week, actually, for a course. I think that's a very limited time to be engaged with your professor and your other students. And it just seems like a very short, condensed period of time. We're trying to put a lot into that hour when you add some breakout rooms, if there's 3 groups getting back, reporting out. And it goes by in an instant. And I would consider adding another lecture session, to the week in that respect.
I love it. I mean, it's so interesting because I think there will be different views on that, but I appreciate there's that need for more, and then there's also those who want to work independently. In other words, the 10 that don't show up to that webinar or to that 1 hour maybe want to work independently. So, you're going to have that variation, I think, anyway. But I think what I'm hearing is, having the opportunity to have more contact time with a professor, with a tutor, would be valuable. And I'm curious of others, any other responses to what Bill's just put forward? Sue?
Yes, I'd agree with Bill as well. I think more contact time, and specifically when you're coming up towards assignments as well, so towards the end of the module. So perhaps at the beginning I probably wouldn't have had as many sort of queries and things, but as I sort of got into the topic, maybe there would be sort of areas that I'd find useful to explore. So I definitely sort of second what he was saying there.
Yeah, and it just made me reflect a little bit too on kind of the academic team that might be part of your module. Do you feel like the module is one person that is the kind of the academic lead that you interface with, or are there opportunities, or have you experienced like a team approach, team taught approach, so that you might have, let's say that one-on-one or in a group session with a professor, but there might be a broader academic team, offering drop-in sessions and things like that. I'd be curious if you've experienced that or if that would be of interest. Go ahead, Chantal. Thank you.
I have not experienced it yet in my Leeds program. At the risk of repeating myself, it's my first module. But in other online learning courses I have taken, there was the professor, but there was also an academic tutor who was available by email and also had drop-in time that we could schedule. And I found that particularly useful, as Sue mentioned, as I was working on an assignment and wanted to either get guidance on whether to pursue a certain area or some guidance on perhaps some of the literature I wasn't finding, or whatever the question was. there was that opportunity, and it was also sort of it was quite available, meaning that although there were many of us and it's online learning, because there was a set schedule that we could book time, we could readily get some feedback. And I think going forward, I would certainly appreciate having more of that. And sometimes just to discuss the topic also, because it's an area of interest that you want to pursue personally, and you don't want to take a discussion thread off. And so that opportunity to have more direction for self-study is quite useful.
Yeah, really, really fascinating. One of the things that I'm thinking of as well is, because I think you just mentioned, being able to schedule a one-on-one session with someone someone from an academic team or extended team there to support the module. But the ability to schedule time, the ability to do it, in a time frame that works for you. So the group concept, but also that one-on-one. But it leads me to think of, how are you accessing what is offered more broadly from the university? Certainly there's the library and you'll have resources there, but there is that broader network. One of the intentions behind fully online degrees is that it is an equitable student experience. You have access as a member of the, in this case, the Leeds community. What type of other resources have you accessed more broadly that are available to you as a member of the student body, including, there's student reps, for example, there's career services, there's well-being support, there's a broader network available to you. And I'm just curious if that's something that has been available. So I think Chantal and then Claire.
I have to say that I found the librarian staff very responsive. They're probably the place I've queried the most, either for resources that I'm not able to obtain access through Leeds. And in terms of the success advisor that we have, I have to say the contact has been limited, and at least in my personal experience, I felt that that's been more of an administrative nature. And once I got through the registration and payment in that, I haven't found that to be a resource, and perhaps I don't fully understand the role.
Great feedback. Thank you. Yep, I'll take that one. I'll take that one away. Appreciate that. And I will also provide feedback to the library. They'll be thrilled with that. So thanks for that. And Claire, you had a comment as well on that one.
I feel like we're going to touch on one of my biggest bugbears, really. But actually, to jump off of what Chantal just said, the library, and is it the skills team as well? They've been brilliant. Very easily accessible from online learning. I am very far away. I can't go into the building and just go to one of the drop-ins. So they set up a Teams meeting. Let's have a chat about it. And they were very helpful. So yeah, love that service. What I'm not going to rant about, but I'm going to raise this complaint as an opportunity. One of the things that I really don't enjoy, and it puts me off so hard as a postgraduate and as a distance learner, the generic university communications that you receive that are like, have you moved away from home for the first time, and do you need to talk about learning about how to handle money? Do you want to talk about traveling and how you travel to university? And oh, you've never had a job before. Let's talk about your career service. And do you know what the CV is? And there's going to be a load of students that don't know all of this stuff, and they need access to it. They're probably, especially in this day and age, those students who don't have a CV are probably not the majority of students. And the language does not reach postgraduates or distance learners whatsoever. And it shouldn't always every single time, but for the communications that go out to all students, they don't apply to all students. I would suggest keeping that in mind.
Oh, in fact, this is also one of my bugbears too. I will certainly say, because and much of that honestly is dependent on, so point taken, regardless, you should not be receiving something that is not appropriate to your level of study or things like this. We can't know every student's circumstances, so some may or may not be relevant anyway, but regardless, certain baseline considerations need to be in place. And oftentimes, and this is certainly not to justify it, but oftentimes underlying systems, student information systems and things like this is sometimes the cause of that. So really identifying online learners from campus students, that's sometimes the root cause. Again, no excuse for that, but that's something that I'm certainly aware of, and also am keen to get right. That has to be right. And the messaging, we talk about personalized learning, and in a way, that's an example. You wouldn't be receiving what is not applicable to you if we had the right profile, if we have the right kind of information about who you are and what is relevant. And part of that is, the information that's captured in the beginning. Part of it is, in an application process, let's say, that kind of scopes that, but it's also getting to know you as a learner and as a student at the university. So appreciate that perspective, because it is a really important point. Yes, Alex.
Yeah, I also found very, very useful the library skills at the University of Leeds when it comes to onboarding into the masters. So like some weeks before actually starting to be able to enter and set the stage for what is coming. And in my case, it was especially important, the part about critical thinking, because actually, my first studies in the university were in Spain, and in an industrial engineering degree. And honestly, there was not so much critical thinking there. And now, knowing that, okay, now, I can express my opinions here, what I, let's say, infer out of the learnings, and, mix the learning with my own opinions and try to criticize. They say very clearly, try to criticize even what the teacher says. And I have done that in a couple of instances, no? And this is something that, for me, coming from another culture than, the people that are here, to me, it was very important to know this, that we were going to exercise the critical thinking. Other resources from the library, for example, I would like to it's very comprehensive. They have this well-being chapter and everything with meditation resources that I have explored, and I also appreciated that. Also, when it comes to supporting staff or the skill, I have one comment to make here, that is, I would have expected that resources are kept up to date in a more dynamic manner than in traditional courses, like making sure the links are not dead links, after starting my studies in 2022, you can really see that, okay, this was done at up until 2020, and from then it has not been touched so much, no? So compared to traditional courses, and given the technology, I would expect that they would have been, kept up to date much better. Or, for example, the material in a section of artificial intelligence, it pointed out that a conversational artificial intelligence engine, that it was a rather simple bot, and now we know that we have a ChatGPT, no? So I think it would be a great point if it's really kept up to date at a better way than other types of learning.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, it's an excellent point, and you raise quite a bit about maintenance of the courses, updating the courses. Not to mention, Stephen, thank you. You've added a comment about AI. How do we even leverage and take advantage of opportunities that are there? I think in the sector there was initial fear about AI and what that means for assessments. In a way, the pendulum is swinging. Institutions and individuals are finding what works and how to embed it within the teaching, but that needs to be a bit of a just-in-time in a way as well. So I'm curious, I think, James, you're in the AI program. That's a different angle, let's say. But I'm curious if, and I don't, you probably will not have experienced learning support bots just yet, actually, because I don't think they're in place. But that's something, these are systems that every institution at the moment is looking at. What does that mean, to embed that? But I'd be curious, I don't know, maybe James, if you have a view in particular, just coming from that AI degree.
Yeah, thanks very much. I think I would defer here to a lot of work that Professor Atwell has done. So Professor Eric Atwell at the university, he actually took us for the data analytics and text mining component of the AI course. He's done a huge amount of work on navigating what I suppose is construed by a lot of people not working in AI as more of a binary of don't use AI, AI is plagiarism, AI is bad, it needs to be taken away. From a much more exploratory, compatibilist way that Dr. Atwell looks at this. So I would direct anyone interested in this to the work that he's done. He's done a lot on LinkedIn, and I think he also has some personal posts about this. But I not wanting to do disservice to his arguments, he basically describes a way in which it is enhancing in a way that's very upfront and transparent in the way that it's been used, the engagement of the students, and how it can be used in the production of work. So yeah, if anyone's interested, I really would recommend his work here.
Thank you. And we can put that in the chat. That's Eric Atwell, so at the University of Leeds. So we're just at the final 3 minutes here of this session. I've really enjoyed this a lot, and I think there's some takeaways. I've got massive notes at the moment of things to just really take away and actually improve. But just in the interest of gathering your feedback, if you could summarize something individually of the panel members here, what you've gained from this conversation, has this been useful? And just a final statement, a final thought, if you would. And I'll go around if I could. Again, Alex, if you could start us off, and just briefly, we don't have a lot of time left, so just briefly. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. So just to see that other students have similar thinking that I had, in let's say in isolation, and feeling that a wider community listens to this, and to see that the feedback will be acted upon. I think that will be very important. And thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, lovely. Chantal?
Well, I would second what Alex has said. And I think I would encourage if we could have this opportunity again for me being in my first module. I guess my insight is limited. It's more comparative at this point. But perhaps the opportunity to have this kind of communication more regularly would be welcomed.
I'd welcome that as well. Thank you. Claire?
I was just thinking about saying the same thing, having more of these opportunities to talk to students about what's going on, because I think in universities, we're at risk of making a lot of decisions that sound right for students and they sound like a good idea. Are they actually what is needed and what's wanted? Do we actually need to spend time on one area when actually it'd be better to focus on something else?
Thank you. James?
Thanks very much. The only thing I'd probably want to elaborate on, based on what's already been said, is maybe there is some separate value to be had in having these kind of engagements, but on a course-specific basis. I know coming from AI, I think it's not maybe quite as conducive as other subjects to a modular, flexible approach to learning, insofar as that there are some intrinsically linear components to learning where you're sequentially following things, and that maybe becomes a little bit lost in a more flexible approach. And I think that maybe a subject specific forum for engaging in those kind of more technical, less generally applicable issues might be really valuable.
Excellent comment. Thank you so much for that, James. Sue? Oh, sorry, we are not hearing you.
Apologies.
No worries.
It's been really interesting and has made me really reflect on my time on the course. And I think what I'll do actually after this is put pen to paper, Margaret, and send you some of my sort of thoughts about it.
Oh, thank you.
Specifically about engagements as well, if that would be useful.
Yeah, of course it'd be useful. I welcome
that. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you. Bill, and then I'm going to come to Sarah as a final word. Thank you.
Well, I think it's great that I'm hearing a consensus around community and a desire to be part of a community, even though we're online, that we are a cohort group going through something and experience something. And I think a lot of our concerns, they're shared, and that makes me feel good. It's not just me that's feeling this way. I mean, I think the group is. So it's been very good in that respect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Sarah, why don't you have a word here if you have a final comment?
I think I've just put it in the chat, actually.
That's
what a
great
opportunity for us all to share what's going on in different places where we're all studying online. However, we could all sort of be a bigger community rather than thinking,
right.
oh God, it's like this online. We could share those opportunities, and more universities who offer courses online could actually learn from each other, which is what I think CODE's doing.
That's right. That is correct.
Almost like I was primed to do that.
I know. We didn't plant that seed, but thank you and well done. So indeed, it is about the conversation. It is about the student experience. You know, everyone is trying to, look at what online learning is for their institution. And it's a journey, and there's always room for improvement. And so these conversations for me have been incredibly valuable. I appreciate your time, your effort, your energy, especially given your schedules and time zones. This has been incredibly valuable. I know the recording will be available as well, and will be disseminated. I'm sure there will be continue to have comments coming through and feedback. And I look forward as well to reading through the chat, because there's quite a bit of richness there, as well as links and things like this to kind of carry on some of the themes that emerged. So that leaves me, I believe, to say thank you so much on behalf of the Center for Online and Distance Education, also from the University of Leeds, where I am based. And, again, my goal and my role is to improve online and digital education. And so this is so meaningful. I'm so grateful for your time. And I'll take that up as well to look at how we can do this again. I would absolutely welcome having this opportunity again. So thank you very, very much on behalf of all of us. Much appreciated. Thank you, Stephen, as well, for facilitating, and to Matt. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Let's get the clapping out here. But thank you so much. Very appreciated.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you.